So I get asked a lot about this lifestyle that I'm living right now, where I literally live out of a backpack. Everything that I own, it fits into a backpack, and that's just how I live. I run my business while traveling. Living out of a backpack allows me to move around a lot, and I sublet a bunch of different places and just kind of move around. Right now, I have a one-way ticket, and I landed in Germany, and now I'm in Austria. And I get asked a lot, like, how did I get to this point? What caused me to get to this point? Why I decided to get to this point, and what are the stuff that I own right now that allows me to do what I'm doing? So I decided that I was going to make this video that explains everything. So I'm going to get started by talking about how this journey all began. So back in 2008, I listened to 2 audiobooks, and these audiobooks literally transformed the way I was looking at my life. It just transformed my life in general. 2 books. Number 1 is The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. This book showed me what was possible with running a business on the internet. It showed me creative ways of outsourcing and just doing a whole bunch of different things so that I could be more efficient with my time and be able to run my business from anywhere in the world and travel and do fun stuff, kind of like how he was doing and the examples that he gave in his book. And the reality is that I, till this day, have not been able to achieve the 4-hour work week. But nevertheless, this book has a lot of amazing stuff, and it'll really get you inspired to do something online, build a business that is surrounding your lifestyle. So instead of building a business where you're kind of a slave to, you build a business that supports the lifestyle that you want to live. So a lot of cool stuff in this book, a great book. This book has literally started the business careers for like tons of entrepreneurs, some of them that I know. The other book that I read was the audiobook that I listened to is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And this book really caused me to go deep within myself and evaluate how I was living. So this is a story about a boy going on a journey to find what he calls in this book the personal legend, finding his personal legend. And you just can't help, as you read this book, to look within yourself and ask yourself, are you chasing your personal legend? Are you living that dream that you always wanted to live? Or are you just kind of settling? So these 2 books, audiobooks, listening to them within a couple months span, really caused me to go deep within myself into re-evaluating how I was living. Now, I thought I was living pretty well. When I was 28 years old, back in 2008, I had a really nice motorcycle, kind of like the one that is over here, except I had white wheels. I used to own a house. This was the exact house that I owned, that I had by myself. I bought by myself. And I had a closet full of brand name clothes. I had really nice furniture. I had 2 computers, a big screen TV with surround sound, a full gym with treadmill that was downstairs in the basement that I built, and just a lot of stuff, a lot of toys. I was 28 years old. It was an ideal bachelor pad, and to top it all off, I had a great job that for 8 years I was doing what I loved to do. But when I asked myself the question, was I really happy? Unfortunately, the answer that came up was no. I say unfortunately because that kind of shocked me back then, but I think it's a fortunate answer that the answer that came up was no. A lot of friends and family would tell me that I was kind of living an ideal life. I was doing pretty well for myself. But yeah, I was financially and materially doing well for myself, but deep down inside, I didn't really feel like I was chasing my dream. And part of it was that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Ever since I was young, I always had dreams of building my own business and being able to travel. And while I had a really good job, I was putting in a lot of hours. Even though I had all these cool toys, I really felt trapped. I really felt I was living kind of a cookie cutter life, and the next logical thing for me to do was to go out and get married and have kids. And I not to bash any of that stuff. I think it's great for anyone that wants to do it and feels deep down inside that that's something they want to do. But it's just living this life at 28, even though it was fun and it was a great experience, didn't really make me feel happy. I wanted to go out and I wanted to build my own business. And I wanted to build a business like Timothy Ferriss talks about in his book that supports a lifestyle that I was looking to live. So after digging deep, going really deep within myself and asking myself the questions of why I wasn't feeling happy, I realized that I had a lot of fear and insecurity that was governing the decisions that I made that got me to the point where I just accumulated a massive amount of toys. And, the fear kind of stems from seeking approval from others. During that time in my life, I really felt that if I went out and bought these things, that I would be looked upon as someone that was successful. And you know what? That's what people were telling me. After I got the stuff, they would look at me and they'd say, you know what? You're successful. I mean, yeah, I wanted to do the motorcycle thing and it was like a little phase, but a lot of the stuff that I did wasn't stuff that I really wanted to do. And it came from a place of fear and insecurity. So I asked myself then, okay, fine. Fear and insecurity. What is the ideal life that I want to live? Well, I wanted to run my own business. So this ideal life would be me running my own business. I would also have the freedom to travel whenever I want. The business that I run wasn't going to make me a slave. I wanted to build this business so I could fund a lifestyle where I could travel a lot and be able to do it whenever I want. So, I also wanted while I was traveling to be able to run my business because, I kind of look at this as like a life, like business and travel and my personal life. It's all one. And I wanted it to be like that. I didn't want to have to separate what I did as far as business goes and my personal life and things like that. I just wanted it to be all one. I also wanted to not have any physical and psychological attachments. So I think that is probably the biggest part that contributed to me eventually, living my whole life out of a backpack. I realized that there was a lot of physical stuff that I had that didn't serve the purpose that I had, which was to build a business and, have a life where I can travel and do things like that. And I also had a lot of psychological attachments to belief systems that didn't serve me, to caring what others thought of me a little too much, listening to the wrong opinions, negative thoughts, stuff like that. A lot of psychological attachments. I wanted to get rid of that stuff. I also wanted to not have any worries when it comes to money and or being in debt. And, while I had all those toys, I had to pay for those toys and I had to mortgage that house. And, just kind of picking up my bags and just going somewhere wasn't that easy because I had bills to pay. So by not having any worries when it comes to money, being able to do whatever I want to do, buy whatever I want, and not have to worry about that being something that kind of ties me down, I would feel that would be part of an ideal life. And I also wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. I think this was the most important piece. I wanted to do whatever I wanted to do in life without fear or insecurity. I knew I was coming from a good place, and whatever I decided to do, I didn't need approval from others. I didn't need to ask for advice, unless it was some professional advice or, hiring a consultant or something like that. But a lot of times I felt I was looking for others for approval of how I should be living my life. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I just wanted to do whatever I feel and not look at it as something that was, fearful or coming from an insecure place. So I went out and I started taking some action. I decided that, if I was going to do this, it was probably the best time for me to do it. And the first thing I did was I sold my baby. I sold my motorcycle in 2008. And in 2009, I quit my job and started my business. I had no idea what I was doing as far as business goes. And, although I had some business experience from the company that I worked at, I used to read a lot of business books. This was like my first real business, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it all ended up working out really well. And, that's for another video. And then in 2010, I sold my house, and I actually crashed the car that I had. And, it was a kind of a weird way to get rid of my car, but I was okay. I didn't get hurt. and the car was a write-off. From 2010 to 2013, I literally gave away and sold everything that didn't serve my purpose. So I was so focused during that time on building my business that I felt that anything physical that I had that didn't serve my goal of building the business, I had to get rid of. So, that made it pretty easy for me to get rid of stuff, and eventually paved the road for me living down into a backpack. And also from 2010 to 2013, my business started to grow, and it eventually surpassed the income that I made from my job, which was great. Now, 2011 rolled by and I started traveling. I went to Mexico, I went to Cuba, I went to a bunch of places in the States. And, I started doing the traveling thing. And it wasn't until 2013, which is this year, where my business turned 100% virtual. So everything that I do, it didn't happen from day one. My business wasn't virtual from day one, where I could run it from anywhere in the world. It did take a lot of work, and I put in a lot of time since 2009 to get to this point. A lot of hard work, a lot of long hours, and I still do. I'm kind of, business is a life that I live. I do this every single day, and I love doing it. It's a lot of work, and if you kind of see it as something painful, then you're probably not going to like entrepreneurship too much. But regardless, that's, like I said, for another video. I turned my business virtual, and that allowed me to travel and get rid of even more stuff. So that's what I'm doing right now. I bought a one-way ticket, landed in Germany, took a train from Munich to where did I go? To Salzburg, and then to Vienna, or I think it was the other way around. But regardless, I'm in Austria right now, and I'm going to be in Europe for a while, and who knows where I'm going to go next. But regardless, I feel like I'm doing what I want to do right now. So let's talk about this minimalism thing, because I think minimalism is just kind of a byproduct of my dream of being able to do all these things, to be able to travel, run my business from anywhere in the world. I think just living out of a backpack just complements it really well. So it's weird because, sometimes when you tell somebody that you're living out of a backpack, the first thing that comes to mind is, are you broke? Are you homeless? Things like that. I'm like, no, I'm not. I just run my business virtually. I get to travel around the world and do stuff while running my business. And I just want to be able to pick up my backpack and just go wherever I want. So if I'm staying here today, I could just pick up and go stay somewhere else. I could leave the continent tomorrow if I wanted to. I wanted that kind of freedom. And minimalism is the byproduct of me wanting to create that lifestyle. So, and you know what? I met actually a whole bunch of people that kind of do the same thing. I think it's more common nowadays than anywhere in history, where, you could build a really good business, you can make good money, and still be really minimal. You don't have to live that traditional mold of a business person, having a nice car, nice house, fancy clothes, and things like that. That kind of stuff doesn't really matter to me as much nowadays. So I changed a lot between 2008 and 2013 internally. I just started to feel less afraid of doing the things that I wanted to do. And I've done a lot of crazy stuff in my business since 2009, and stuff that I probably would have never done prior to that. And it's been a lot of fun, and a lot of it is because of the internal change that happened within myself. I also feel a lot more confident nowadays. I'm able to do a lot of things that I wasn't able to do before because of a better sense of self-confidence. I don't feel as insecure when it comes to just doing stuff that I want to do. I associate myself to less labels, as in you're this kind of person or whatever, less belief systems and less stuff. And that is a psychological thing, but that's kind of what's happened since, this minimalism route I started to go on. So let's talk about actually what's in my backpack right now. I've got a MacBook Air, which is a great laptop, great lightweight, makes the backpack really light. I have an iPhone, which I don't keep in the backpack. I put that in my pocket. I've got an LG wireless headset, this one right here, which is great. I've got a Blue Snowball microphone. I got a laptop case. I've got 2 pairs of jeans, 1 pair of shorts, 2 long sleeve t-shirts, 4 t-shirts, 1 hat, which is what I'm wearing right now, 7 pairs of underwear and socks, running shoes, running pants, toiletries, and the backpack which is this exact backpack that you see on the screen right now. It's a Duder. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering it, and I should, speak German well by now because I've been here for, almost 2 weeks. Well, I should at least know how to pronounce that name because that is a German brand. And it's a 22-liter backpack. It's a Futura 22, and it's a good backpack. It's really great. I, should probably make a review on it. But I shopped around for different backpacks, and, wearing this backpack when I was with all my stuff in it, when I landed in Munich, was a really surreal experience. It's just so weird to be in a country, like land in a country and have everything that you own in your backpack. It's and just knowing that you can just kind of go everywhere. Now, the cool thing about this backpack is it's great on my back. Like it's really comfortable, and I can carry all this stuff, and I could probably walk around the whole day and not feel uncomfortable. So that's the stuff that I have in my backpack, in case you're wondering. So how do I feel after, in 2008, reading those books and then going through this entire journey and then stumbling upon minimalism in the process and living out of a backpack? How do I feel? Well, I feel really free, for one thing. I could just stuff everything right now into my backpack and be out of here in like 10 minutes and go anywhere that I want, anywhere in the world. Like, that is just a good feeling for me. I have a lot of clarity, a greater sense of clarity than I had before, because I have less stuff to think about. I think there's a direct correlation with your physical world and your internal state. And by having less stuff, something happens in here. You kind of let go of a lot of mental clutter. And therefore, I feel like I have increased my mental clarity by cutting down all the stuff, the unnecessary stuff that I don't need, which is also an important point. I didn't just cut out and just have this stuff right here because I wanted to live out of a backpack and I thought it was cool to be a minimalist. This is only the stuff I actually need. I don't need anything beyond this. My main focus is my business, and I love to be able to be nimble and just kind of go around wherever I want and travel and meet new people. And this is all I really need to do it. That's where my focus is. So I'm happier. Before, when I asked myself that question back in 2008, am I happy? And after having all that stuff, I should have been happy. The answer was no. Now, after having just this little pile of stuff that fits in my backpack, I feel happier. My relationships with my family and my friends improved. I just think that one of the reasons why is I just appreciate stuff more nowadays than I did before. My ability to communicate has improved. So I don't know if it has something to do with this clarity thing. My ability to connect and have empathy towards others has also improved. Again, because I just feel more connected. And I also think part of it has to do with traveling too. Countries like Austria, they really value a good, deep conversation. And in Mexico too. And traveling around the world, you'll find that. But hey, if I didn't have the backpack, it would be a little harder for me to travel around as often. And if I can kind of sum it up how I feel, I would say the very last word, unconditional. I just kind of accept things the way they are. And this lifestyle that I live right now, if you had talked to me, 2007, before I started doing this stuff, I would have thought, and you told me you were doing this, living out of a backpack, I would have no idea what the heck you were talking about. I would think you were broke. I would have thought that you were just doing this because, you didn't have any money. You were homeless. I would have not kind of pieced it together that it would be the result, a byproduct of a lifestyle that you created, which, I would have thought would be pretty cool back then if you told me you were traveling and you're building your business. So, I don't really feel weird telling people that I live out of a backpack. I don't feel weird telling people that I just kind of move around and try living in different places. People actually have a lot of really good stuff to say about this. So some final thoughts. Living out of a backpack is not for everyone. It's really depending, and I look at this as it depends on what your objectives are, where you are in your life. If you're married and you've got kids, if you've got like 4 or 5 kids, I don't know, I wouldn't want to say it's going to be harder to live out of a backpack, but just a little different. And like I said, it all depends on what your objectives are. My objective is to focus on my business, travel around, meet cool people, and the backpack is all you need for that, with that stuff that I've got in there. So I think that minimalism, to me, it doesn't mean getting rid of stuff that you own and living out of a backpack, or just living with just a few items. I think it's more about resourcefulness. I think that we have a lot of stuff. I mean, I had personally, from my experience, a lot of stuff that was just kind of sitting around and wasn't getting much use. And I think that stuff can be sold and given away to people that could use it. And I just think that in our society, a lot of us have stuff that we own that we don't need, and it's not actually helping us with our purpose, if going after your purpose is one of your objectives. And minimalism, to me, equals resourcefulness. So I also think that minimalism is physical, and getting rid of physical stuff, and also psychological. Holding grudges towards other people, having resentment, anger, things like that, is psychological clutter. And again, we could do another video and a whole series of video on that stuff. There's a lot of great books on that stuff. In fact, here's one right here, really good book, The 4 Agreements. Check out this book. It'll help you with the psychological stuff. Next, minimalism is just a part of my new life. I never planned on becoming a minimalist and living out of a backpack. It just happened to be that way because it complemented the lifestyle that I was living. But thank you very much for watching this video and hearing my story about how I'm living out of a backpack. And I hope this answers a lot of questions that you have, and inspires you to make some changes in your life. If you feel that you have a lot of stuff that you've got lying around that you don't need, maybe you should give that away or sell it or whatnot. You can potentially have some of the same benefits that I have. Or if you didn't get anything out of this video, then hopefully you'll at least go out and read those 2 books that I mentioned, because I think that they're great books. Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist and The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. And on final note, I have a blog where I go and post pictures of my travels, and I write a little bit on there. It's at josephrodriguez.com. So if you want to get in contact with me, just click the contact link on that site and send me an email. So thank you very much, and have yourself a wonderful day.